From Las Vegas, Nevada, we welcome you to the podcast Real Estate Talk with JC Castillo. JC Castillo and guest.
Good afternoon, Las Vegas. My name is JC Castillo. We are here starting again the podcast Real Estate Talk with JC Castillo and guests. Today we are here on Friday afternoon. We are here at Equity Title Studios. We're getting, this is our second episode of what we're actually putting together. So I would like to go ahead and give my welcome to my wonderful guest. We're going to go ahead and start Lupi. Lupi, good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon, JC. Doing great.
Awesome.
Excited.
Awesome. And also we have Mr. Warren here. Warren, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, JC? Another one, man.
Good. So here we are doing our second episode of the series that we talked about that we were going to do. And I think it's really important for people to know and understand that this is going to be a consistent thing that we're going to be doing. Every Friday afternoon, we're going to be here in front of you guys, talking to you guys, bringing you guys information that needs to be brought up to you about what's happening in the real estate market. And it's really important for the people to engage. So with that being said, Lupi, how can people get a hold of you outside of this, podcast network type of scenario, please?
They could get a hold of me on my phone through my email, 702-503-7822, or lupisalas.5@gmail. They could get a hold of me there.
Awesome. And your social media?
Sell it with Salas.
Okay. Perfect. And for you, Mr. Warren, how can people get a hold of you and what company you work for?
Hey guys, this is Warren with Loan Depot. Definitely hit me up on Instagram, the THE Cabasa, CABASA. Find me there, send me a DM, do what you want.
Very good. So we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a couple of things that we want to talk about. And one of them is, I gave you guys this piece of paper earlier. I told Warren we're going to have homework and he already forgot about it. No, I'm just kidding. But Warren, you're just going to hear to the stats, but these right here are the stats for March. All right. This is March 2026 that talks about what the current market is doing in the Las Vegas Valley. And Warren, you as a loan officer that are not really looking at the day-to-day real estate transactions that are being put, I want to get your input on this. So for the month of March 2026, we had 3,591 brand new listings. All right. There's 6,988 available units total. That means condominiums, townhouse, single-family residence. Pending sales are 2,479 homes, and closed units are 2,302 closed transactions. So we have almost 7,000 homes in the market, but we only closed $2,300. You as a lender, how do you analyze this data from your perspective as a lender on the scenario?
So as a lender, I want to say that the market is cyclical. These numbers definitely reflect something that is a reflection of coming off of the winter slow months. It is weaker than normal. That was March. Here in Vegas, weather is getting better, and arguably people should be going out there and looking some more. However, that's not the case. I want to say historically, this is a weak sale outlook or outcome, and it's just a reflection of times with what's happening globally with what's going on in Iran and how it affected interest rates.
Right.
You're seeing these numbers on the sales side. On the loan side, we were busy in February, had deals in March, and then died in April.
Right.
Because of everything that happened in Iran during March, that kind of people held back, rates went up. And so I want to say that definitely added to why the sales are so low for the month of March, because it just, I want to say it might even be worse for the month of April when we get those reports.
Right.
Just because it's a reflection of like interest, people held back.
Yeah. And I love that because, again, right, this is getting the lender's perspective, because you got to remember, and I think, Lupi, you brought it in last time and you said, the first person that you need to go to is the lender. So if he was busy in February getting loan applications and submitting everything, and everybody has pre-qualified, and then the numbers show that March wasn't as active as he was busy in February, as a real estate professional, it leaves a lot of inventory out in the market for any buyer that wants to buy right now, right?
Yes, and leaves a lot of room for, they get out there for incentives, for concessions, to be able to do that. But
Right.
they need to get out there.
Right. So the bottom line is, the inventory, yes, the purchases slow down in the month of March, but we have over 7,000 homes in the market right now. And that's not counting all the listings that they taken this last 2 weeks of April. I mean, April 15th was a couple of days ago, right? 2 weeks into the April, there's so many more listings now. So the April numbers look like it's going to be a little bit more, it's going to be more healthy as an inventory. So the buyers really need to understand that it's a great opportunity to go out and purchase, because you could still negotiate closing costs, you could still negotiate incentives, you could still negotiate the solar panel. I mean, there's a lot of negotiation out there, right? Lupi, in your expertise as a real estate professional, you've been, I follow you on social media, and you were this weekend showing a whole bunch of new home sales. How does that compare, having 7,000 homes listed in the MLS, plus all the new home sales that are online right now? Is it a buyer's market yet, or we need to interpret this as there's buyer's opportunities? It's not a buyer's market yet.
Buyer's opportunity.
Okay, talk
That's
to me
what it
about
is.
that.
Buyer's opportunity, because at the new builds that I went to, they were calling them red tag sales. And they're willing to work, and those buyer's opportunities, they're all out there. There's different ones,
Right.
but for the different builders, but they're out there right now. And so again, you're not going to have people fighting you with some kind of negotiating war or whatnot, and it's there, and I saw it everywhere I went. It wasn't just like, just this one builder's having this.
Yeah.
No, it was everyone that was like, we've got this and we've got this opportunity. So it is a buyer's opportunity. You're absolutely correct. Not a buyer's market, but an opportunity.
Right. And Warren, for you as a lender, those buyer's opportunities that are out there, how easy is for you to really have people understand that the loan process is not that complicated if you know what you need, right?
Yeah, perfect point. I had a client that was, she started the application with me back in February, but she never got me her documentation.
Right.
And then just today at 2:00 in the afternoon, all of it got sent. Pay stubs, bank statements, driver's license, pretty much the entire works. And right before I got here, she was pre-approved. I sent that pre-approval out right before I got here. In a matter of maybe half an hour.
Oh wow.
It's pretty standard stuff, and I want to say I don't get why people are hesitant to send those over. Sometimes it is hard to get them depending on who you are. But with this lady, she was, she knew everything was documented online. Everything was uploaded in my portal, and she got that pre-approval in 30 minutes.
Wow.
It's not, the slowdown isn't from the lenders sometimes. The slowdown is definitely sometimes on the buyer who just doesn't know how to get, let's say I need a Social Security award letter. That thing comes every December in the mail. Most of the time, it gets thrown out.
Yes.
And so now they have to go online to either on Social Security's website, which that's a hassle to do to set up the profile for that, or they literally go to the Social Security office. Sometimes they don't even have the transportation to get there. So people have these hurdles to get this documentation, but it's absolutely necessary for us to be able to give the pre-approval so that you go out there and have the confidence to be able to buy without any uncertainty.
Now, if I may ask a question, so what kind of loans, the question was broached to me, what kind of loans do you prefer to work with, or what is it that you're looking for?
There's really no loan types that I prefer. Everybody has a different thing. Like, depending on, I don't know, a VA loan versus a conventional loan. To me, a VA loan is arguably the best loan out there available. It's just not everybody can get it. But me as a loan officer, the profile that I like to get is someone with, just a high credit score. That's really it. If I have someone in, over 660, 640, that pre-approval it can come out in 30 minutes. 640 credit score, that's easily an FHA loan. If they don't have the down payment, I can get the down payment assistance. If they don't have the closing costs, hey Lupi, like, we need the seller credit in this kind of environment.
Yes,
we're gonna get that, right? And so that makes it so much easier.
Right. Let me jump in and ask a question in there. If people have the down payment and they have their closing costs and everything, is it beneficial to ask the agent to always request closing costs from the seller as well? If, like, right now there's an opportunity to go ahead and get that paid off. Let's say I'm a buyer, right? Scenario. I'm a buyer. I have, $30,000 in the bank to be able to give down payment and everything. But if I'm working with Lupi and Lupi's like, hey, you know what? Let's try to get seller to give you some money. Isn't that beneficial for me? Because now I'm not coming out of pocket and I'm keeping more money in the bank?
Oh, definitely. I love those scenarios where people buy a house and they get their earnest money back. Imagine buying a house and you get a refund check. Like, that's pretty cool. Nothing came out of pocket.
That's pretty cool.
And I want to say, in this kind of environment right now, you could do that. Best case scenario that I've ever had, it was a VA loan. Obviously, there's no down payment. They put $5,000 as an earnest money deposit. After everything was said and done, they got that $5,000 back.
Wow.
Like, that is the beauty of the power of a VA loan. Like, you could literally buy a house for nothing. Like, it's crazy. FHA, totally different scenario, but it's possible also, where the down payment assistance covers your down payment, seller pays your closing costs. You came in with $3,000, but because the sellers had so much, you got so much closing costs, you got that $3,000 back. Right. So again, virtually no money out of pocket for you to be able to buy a house of your own.
Right.
It's crazy.
And Lupi, that's pretty cool for people that are listening right now, or they're gonna see the show later on and saying, how is it possible that I'm gonna get my earnest deposit back? But it all starts with your negotiation, right? Talk to me about how you, being such a strong real estate agent out there, to be able to negotiate the best terms for your buyer at the moment.
It's just looking at the entire picture.
Okay.
And are we live, JC?
We are live. Don't worry about it.
No, I'm gonna have to run to the restroom.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, you're good. You're good. So I think it's really important for people to understand that, the negotiation factor for the buyers is huge, because you, as a lender, Warren, the more money you have available, the flexible opportunities for the loan is, right?
Yes. The power of seller credit, getting those can definitely make the mortgage payment even lower.
Okay.
Let's say you have a client, they got an extra $3,000 remaining in seller credit.
Yeah.
I'll give you a different example. I just had a transaction. The buyer's agent negotiated about $18,000 in seller credit.
Oh wow.
We didn't need $18,000.
Okay.
At the end of the day, we still had about $8,000 left in seller credit. That buyer was like, "Hey, we have $8,000 left. What can I do with it?" I'm like, "Well, you have a couple options. One, you can take this credit and use it to make your interest rate even lower."
Okay. So talk to me about that scenario, right? How do you take that money to make your interest rate even lower?
So, if anyone's ever heard of the term discount points, it's kind of a weird term because people think it's a good thing.
Right.
And you hear discount, you think, oh, it makes it lower. And yes, it makes it lower. However, it's not free.
Right.
You are paying it back. in this example where there was so much seller credit, the discount points was kind of free. That excess $8,000 was used to buy down the interest rate like they went from 5.99 to 5.5.
Okay.
And $8,000 got them there. That saved them about $82 a month.
Wow.
Well, at the end of the day, it adds up.
Yeah, $82 a month for what, 360 months? That's quite a bit of money, dude. And so if there's money left over in the table, it doesn't go to Warren's pocket and he buys a brand new watch or nothing like that, right?
No, not at all. In pre-2008, I heard you could do something like that.
Right.
But yeah, there's so much rules and regulations now that lenders don't get paid.
Right.
This industry, for me, my license is not a lucrative position anymore.
Right.
I still talk to some lenders back in the day, and like, oh, I used to do that, and they don't make that much money anymore. And like, I feel like I'm still making, but like, dang. So I'm wondering, what kind of scenarios that they were in. But in this scenario, that money, the seller essentially gave it away, right?
Right.
And you don't want to leave it, because it can potentially go back to the seller, and you don't want that.
Right.
So the lender has to figure out, okay, what can I do to use up all this credit?
Right.
One option is to buy down the interest rate. For VA loans, we use seller credit to pay off the buyer's debts.
Oh, wow.
That was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
I had a VA loan where there's so much seller credit. I used that to pay off their student loans that was in default. So it cleared their cavers, and like, I didn't think this was possible, but it happened. The guy, because you can't get a VA loan if you owe the government debt.
Yeah.
But that was the assumption when we got into it, and it happened, and that veteran has a house and his student loans were paid off by the seller. Very
cool. And that's really important, because you guys need to understand that us in the escrow side, or my escrow officers, because I am not an escrow officer, just full disclosure, I have wonderful escrow officers. If there's money left in the bank, or if there's money left on the table, they're asking and saying, where's these funds going? Is it going back to the seller? Are we using it for something else? Sometimes some of my escrow officers have talked to the real estate agent and to the loan officer, and they're like, look, you know what? We kind of exceeded everything. Okay, then you know what? We're going to pay a whole year HOA up front, or we're going to pay a whole year of taxes up front. I mean, that's a benefit for the buyer. And Lupi, I hope you're okay.
Yeah, no, okay, just getting a little under the weather. I'm so sorry. I do apologize to everybody out there.
Hey, listen, this is why we're live. Don't worry about it.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, no, but you're good. So, it's important for people to understand that, there is money right now for the opportunity to the buyers to buy, where, like Lauren says, maybe they're getting their refund back at the end of the check, their earnest deposit or something.
But it all starts very creative.
Okay, so talk to me about that.
Like he said, you could do the loans, you could do buy down. Like you had mentioned, you've got the solar. What is it that we could be creative? Right. And again, each time it's going to be a different scenario, because it's going to, there's different, but there's that opportunity to go in and be creative, whatever it is that we can do. And because it is that time that we can do it. And it's not about talking about taking advantage of a seller. Please do not. That is not what we are saying. What I'm saying is that you have that ability right now to be creative, to see what's best for your buyer, because that's basically, if you are representing that buyer, you're there to negotiate and see what's for the best for them. And just like you said about the loan, we got to take care of these student loans. See what we can do, and that's all I could say. It's just we can be creative depending on the individual.
Right. And I think that's very cool and important that we're talking about this, because each person, each loan, it's so individual, right? Just because we're two people, I mean, I could have my brother come in and talk to Warren and say, hey, this is my brother. We live in the same household. We live in the same street. We live in the same neighborhood. We grew up both the same. But my scenario is totally different than my brother. Talk to me about how people need to understand that just because their friend got this credit and that, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry, but that's him. You are you, boo.
Yeah,
right?
and,
Talk to me about that.
And it's a hard conversation to have sometimes because you're expecting something and then you fall short. And I've definitely been there. And the hardest part to make people realize, and to me, is credit scores. You don't know how much their credit score is versus yours, or another one is down payment. Like, you're thinking, how the hell are they in a $500,000 house, and you know what they're doing? No, you don't have any idea what they're doing. Like, you don't know if their parents helped them put. Let's say it's a $500,000 house. Their parents paid $400,000, so now they only have a mortgage of $100,000.
Right.
But they drive Uber. Like,
yeah, and let's be honest, we don't personally talk about our financials, right? We don't share our financials. We don't say, hey, I got $300,000 in the bank. People are like, he drives an Uber. How can he was able? But you just don't know 100%, right?
yeah, no, and it's straight up, it's none of your business.
Exactly.
It's none of your business.
Yeah.
But so you can't have that expectation of if the Joneses can have it, I can have it too. You can't keep up with the Joneses sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's a hard pill to swallow.
It is.
And so all you really got to do is focus on you and see where you're at and see where you stand.
Right.
And you make your decision from there.
And
Right.
see, and again, just to piggyback on that, when you hear people say, well, look, this person did it, and you're not doing your job. No, that person was an entire different credit score, employment, everything compared to
Yeah.
that other one.
Yeah.
So
and it's important for the audience to understand that clear difference, right? You are your own world. You are your own financial situation. Even and Warren, I'm sorry I keep on putting you on the spot here today, but even a husband and wife couple, they're two different people. One could have a 655 score, and the other one could have a negative 300 FICO score, right?
I am literally going through that right now. Husband, veteran, sub 580 credit score. Wife, 720 plus credit score.
Wow. That's a big gap.
The downside is because the husband is the veteran, if they were to do a VA loan, they're subject to that husband's lower score. He is the veteran. If we want to do a VA loan, we have to do that, right?
Right.
At the end of the day, the wife is like, you know what? No, I have the money. I have the money for the down payment. Let's go this route with a conventional loan. She's putting 20% down. Now they're not doing a VA loan. They're doing conventional loan.
Right.
And it's because of their particular circumstances. My job is to give you options, right?
Right.
Option A or option B. And you have to, you the buyers have to make the best decision for you and your family. I always say that a lot. And what I think is the best decision might not necessarily be the same opinion that you have. And at the end of the day, for this family, like, no, I don't want to pay that. I don't want to pay that. Let's go this route.
Right.
And that's the route that they went.
Right. So now, Lupi, I'm going to put you in the spot.
oh, good.
All right. Oh, good. She said, I like it. First of all, I want to wish you a happy birthday, because we were talking about how yesterday was your birthday. So happy belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. But this shows a commitment that, even if it's your birthday, you're out there doing your thing. So congrats.
Well, thank you. And you know what? And I have to reiterate, I do apologize for stepping out. I'm just a little under the weather. But there was no way that I was going to call and say, hey guys, I'm feeling a little off today. It was like, no, I'm going to be here. And just like yesterday, my daughter had called me and said, Mom, what are the plans? And I was like, I'm going to stop at your house real quick, and then I'm going to go to properties. And my other son called, he goes, Mom, what are the plans? And I was like, I'm stopping at your sister's real quick to take care of something, and then I'm taking off. And they were like, you're going to? I said, you know what? It's about the consistency. And the one thing my daughter did tell me, she was, Mom, don't take it wrong, but if that's what's going to make you happy on your day, please, by all means, we can go any other day, go have lunch, go do whatever. And my son did the same thing. He said, you know what, Mom, whenever we'll get together, just go do it. And I was out there till, I didn't get back home till about 8:30, because then I gave you gentlemen a challenge that when we're strutting our stuff, let's see. And so I was just...
And I'm gonna tell the people, if you guys do not follow her on social media, she went literally, I think, to almost every new home community out there yesterday.
About,
she was all over the town, and I love it because each community is very unique.
Yes.
Right? Price points wise, design wise, some of them are 2 stories, some of them are 3 stories, some of them have community parks, some of them have a little bit of backyard. I mean, the amount of different communities out there are a lot, and people don't realize how many really are out there. So congrats by doing that, and again, happy belated birthday.
Thank you so very much, Casey. Thank you.
You're welcome. So now we're gonna get back to this real
Okay.
quick, all right? On the monthly report, there's 2 stats here that are really, really important. One of them, it says months of inventory, right? Right now in this single-family resident, these are just single-family resident, right? Homes, not including townhouse or condominiums. The month of inventory is 3.6 months of inventory, and the average days on the market, it's 61 days. Lupi, as a buyer, that information is crucial for me to make a decision with your guidance on how to write an offer, right? If it's been sitting in the market for 70 plus days, they might be a little bit willing to lower the price or give me more incentives, correct?
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
And if I may, okay, so there was a neighbor, and was with another agent, a different brokerage, and he had asked me, well, my son had gone to talk to him, and his home was on the market already for 70 some days, and he was so upset. And I told him, first of all, I cannot give you advice on what you can do or can't do, but his concern was like, look, I just bought this solar, and the agent says that I should give $30,000. And yes, and so I was like, well,
Where's that? Why?
yes,
Yeah.
you should give $30,000, and I don't want to. I did all these upgrades and whatnot. Again, I couldn't give him any advice, but the only advice I could give him was like, go speak to your broker. Go speak to your broker and see what they can do, and see what you can do, because you've got to be able to negotiate,
right,
for your part, and for the buyer as well. They're going to be, but you need to also negotiate. How much do you want to sell your house? Because he wanted to get out of his home.
Right.
He wanted to go because I think they had another home from what he had shared that they needed to get to. He
Right.
said you're going to really have to speak with your broker. If you're not getting through with your realtor, speak to your broker. I believe he spoke to his broker because the home sold.
There we go.
The
See?
home sold. But
And that's pretty cool. I mean, I don't know, Warren, what do you think? That's pretty cool that even though it wasn't her transaction, she still was willing to give the right advice. Because sometimes, we have opinions, and our opinion, nobody wants to hear it, but people need to hear advice. What do you think? How important is for people to understand the advice, and that sometimes the advice is not an opinion?
You have to understand also where the advice is coming from. Sometimes that advice it can have, it can be skewed. It can have its own agenda behind it. So be really, have a filter on the advice that's coming in, and take in which one is best for you and which one is not best for you.
Right.
At the end of the day, you're the one signing the paperwork, and so you're the one making those decisions. So when you do take advice, you have to understand the consequences or the benefits behind it also.
Agreed.
My job, my license, I want to say I'm a little bit more free in being able to give my advice when someone is complaining, and that kind of sense. Ethically, I don't think I have to deal with that, but in real estate, you guys have to deal with those.
yes.
So understand that I'm gonna be your friend, but at the same time, as a professional, I have this code of ethics that I have to adhere to. As a realtor, as a lender, totally different game.
Yeah.
In title, probably a totally different game. Title has their own opinions from their vantage points of what they see in the market and whatnot, and they'll have their take, right? One thing to keep in mind when you talk to a realtor or a lender, they're always gonna say you should buy. And
of course,
you remember that advice is kind of skewed because we don't get paid unless you buy.
Agreed.
Right? And if you don't get paid unless that transaction happens. So whoever you ask, if any realtor or lender, they're always going to tell you, yes, it's a good time to buy.
Right.
And if they aren't telling you it's not a good time to buy, one, they're probably being honest, and two, like, you know, it depends on your situation. You know, that answer right there, it depends on your situation. It's arguably like the answer to 99% of that question all the time.
Right.
You know, is it a good time to buy? My answer is it depends on your situation.
100%.
Is your credit ready? Is your income ready? Do you have enough savings? Is your family, you know, are they ready for this? Sometimes they're not. Like, sometimes there's emotional attachments to a house that they can't go. Sometimes there's contractual obligations to a house that you can't go. And so you have to filter out what this advice is so that you can make the best decision for you and your family.
Right. And I 100% agree with that comment that the best time to buy is when you're ready. Right? It's not what the market is doing. It's not, you know, the war across the street, you know, whatever. No, it's when you are ready to purchase is the best time to buy in any given market. I mean, you know, we're looking at the stats for March. You know, we're going to wait and see what the stats for April come in, and then we're kind of comparing from, you know, the first quarter to the second quarter, right? Because like Warren said, and Lupi, I think you could agree with me and elaborate a little bit more on this. The weather's changing. People are like, now they're like, I want to go see open houses. But when it's cold, people are like, I ain't going out there. It's windy. It's cold. I'm not going to go. Right. So all of that takes a lot of also more people now stepping into the market, and now we're seeing people interested in looking and probably submitting offers and negotiating and everything. That comes along with the nice weather, because once summer comes in, then people want to hide.
You're hiding, yes.
Right. So as a real estate agent, how do you prepare somebody that wants to start looking for a property and maybe wants to move in within, you know, a month, 2 months from now? They should start really getting prepared now to knowing what they're looking for, right?
They need to start. And as a matter of fact, I have somebody right now that's trying to get herself ready, and we're going to start in about, I want to say about 4 months.
Okay.
I told her, okay, you know what, let's do about 4 months, and within that time, I can get her over to, you know, whoever she would like, but I will also recommend Warren, because that's who I work with. And I want to be able to, like I told her, I said, let's get your credit on, you know, check it out, see how it's going. That way we can have that going. Her employment is great. And so that's what we're doing, just prepare this part so we can get to that part.
Right.
Because there's plenty of properties out there. Yes, there are, as you indicated, and it's there. But what do you qualify for? And so why give them, like I mentioned before, that they don't qualify for something that they are looking at. And so maybe they need to wait, or maybe they need to, you know, they're going to move forward. There's a lot of variables in that, but the first thing is we've got to get them ready to get that pre-approval letter.
Right.
That's the only way that I would feel very comfortable for somebody to go out there and say, okay, this is what I have, and this is what I've already done. I've got my credit ready. I've got my employment is fine.
Very cool. Now, I know you and I were talking before we came up in the air, and you had a couple of questions, which I thought it was a phenomenal question, because, you know, I am the title guy, and we rarely talk about really what is it that I do or we do. So the microphone is all yours, Lupi.
Thank you, my dear. So the question was fees. How do they vary? And is it a flat fee? Is it when there's a fee pertaining to title?
That is a phenomenal question. And like I said, this is where I shine, right? And I was telling Lupi, I said, look, I have a residential title agent license. So I am actually allowed to quote fees, right? And I know that fees are intertwined with real estate contracts and also the lender, because the lender needs to know that, hey, what are the fees going to be like, right? So with that question is, we have what's called a title rate fee book. All title companies have to file their rates with the insurance commissioner. We are governed by the insurance commissioner. We just can't say, oh, you know what, we're just going to charge you this much for this, right? Everything gets filed all the time, and there's a parameter. So we used to walk around years ago with these little books, and I was telling Lupi, when an agent was writing a contract, it says, hey, I'm writing a contract for $158,000. What is the title and escrow fee? We will go into our book, and it's all here by sales price, right? We will go here and find the sales price between $150,000 and $160,000. Your owner's policy is $993. That policy covers the seller. Okay, And what does that cover? It covers anything that will be recorded after the property has been sold. So that's an insurance protection that the seller is requiring after the property sold. I come in and say, oh, you know what? Lupi was the seller on this property. I loaned her $10,000. Now I'm going to file a lien. My insurance company, no, buddy. You're not doing it because she bought insurance, and we make sure that there was no liens or judgments after the property was sold, right? Within that price range, the lender policy, that is what the buyer is buying for the lender, right? The lender needs to be covered in saying, hey, this person has no outside debts. They're going to come in and interfere with the title or put what's called cloud title, right? That fee is $547, right? Then you have your escrow fee. And for that fee, your escrow fee is $1,060. That escrow fee is divided between the buyer and the seller. So the buyer pays for the lender fee, which is here $547. The seller pays the owner's policy, which here is $993, and then they split the escrow fee, which is $1,060, 50-50 between both of them. And that's really what the title and escrow fees are like. They're not hidden, they're nothing, they're out there. You could go to any of the title companies, pull up their website and say, what are the fees here? And you could look at their fees, right? And it's very, very transparent, right? Now, what we do above and beyond that, that's totally different, but this is the set fees that we have for those transactions. There is another fee that is called a refinance fee. So if you're refinancing, you're not buying an owner's policy, you're not buying a lender's policy, that's just a refinance fee because we have to do the paperwork. But literally, that's what it is. And, it's funny because I had to go and search for this rate book, which I haven't used in a long time because now everybody goes online and just put them up. But if you're working with somebody out there, and this is for the real estate agents, if you're working with somebody out there and they're your title rep and they don't know how to quote you fees, you might want to consider who you're working with because that's a big, big issue, right? You got to be able to know what you're doing. Like the real estate agent, you know what to say, you know what to do, you know how to fill out a contract. A lender knows what to do. Hey, they know the type of loans they need to provide. Well, my job is to be able to know what my fees are for any given transaction. So hopefully that answers your question.
Thank you. Yes, it was a question that was asked if I could ask you. And I was like, you know what? Absolutely, I will ask him. And I think the greater outcome of it was to see the credibility that you hold. Which is also shows a lot.
Well, I appreciate that. But, I've been doing this for a long time. And like I said before, we used to walk around with these rate books in our pockets. And I mean, we look like bookkeepers, right? But it's important because for you, Warren, how important is for you to know what my fees are going to be? Because that impacts the buyer's bottom line, right?
Oh, at the end of the day, yeah. When at the end of the day, I'm calculating the cash to close and making sure that the buyer has enough money in their bank account to be able to afford this purchase, right? One of the costs is the title fees,
right?
And sometimes there might be something that we did not account for. Let's say the purchase contract said it wasn't 50-50 on the title fees and everything is on the responsibility of the buyer.
Yeah.
Now it just doubled, right? That's why we had to read the contracts, the purchase contracts, and see how it was negotiated, and see, hey, is this in line with what we estimated? If it is, cool. No red flags. Easy peasy. It's that. But sometimes there are situations. I'm reading the purchase contract, like, hey, how come the buyers are responsible for the transfer tax?
Yes. Oh my God.
I'm like, they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, dude, they're responsible for the transfer tax. And if you guys don't know, the transfer tax is a tax that the government, I think, charges because you're making money on selling your house. Oh, the government wants their piece. It's usually the responsibility of the seller.
Yes.
Like, hey, you got paid for this, right?
Yes.
No. If the purchase contract says the buyer is responsible for that, guess what?
Yeah.
That buyer is now, well, how much is that usually? Like, what, another 3% of the?
It's usually the way that it's calculated, and just so you know, to clarify, the transfer tax is the county tax that the county collects when the seller sells their home, right? It's not the property taxes or not. This is a county tax. They're like, you know what? You're selling your home. It's kind of like when you play Monopoly and like, yeah, you're selling. I want my piece, right? Yeah. Well, that's the county saying we want our piece. Usually, the way it's calculated is they charge $5.10 per each 1,000. So if it's $100,000 home, it's $510. But if it's a $500,000 home, now it's almost $2,500. And like Warren says, if you're coming in with very limited closing costs, and now you are responsible because your agent wasn't aware, and again, we're not bashing any agent, but pay attention, por favor, right? If your agent is not paying attention, all of a sudden the seller's like counter saying like, oh no, well, transfer tax to be paid by the buyer, and the agent like, oh yeah, this is a great deal. The seller should be paying the transfer tax. They should be paying the HOA transfer fees as well. They should be paying, there's certain fees that the seller must pay. But if you have a savvy agent that understands and they sneak it in, that's on you. And how important is for you to read those contracts to really understand what the fees are going to be from one side to another, Lupi?
Oh, it's very, very important. And it's also very, very important that you are very transparent with whomever, with your buyer, that they know exactly what you're doing. And then even the seller to know that those lines that you're doing everything the way that it should be, and those fees are the way that they should be. And who's responsible for them? Because that does fall on you.
It does.
It does fall on you because now you've got a big problem. Like I said, they don't have the money. Now you're like, where are you going to get it from? You're going to pay for it is what they're going to tell you.
Yeah. And that's usually when my escrow officers are calling the agents and be like, hey, are you guys paying this out of your commission? Because, the buyer doesn't have money. The lender can't put in any more money. We can't contribute or nothing. It really boils down to the agent if they want to make the transaction close. Usually the agent's like, you know what? I'm going to contribute that from my commission and blah, blah. And then the negotiation starts and then who's going to pay for what? My escrow officers, all they're waiting for is kind of like, okay, who's going to pay for what? Right. And we're going to charge them, right? We do not make decisions. But it impacts the loan, right?
Yeah. No, and at the end of the day, it's their cash to close, right? I have this bank statement. That's why I asked for bank statements to show proof that, hey, I can afford this transaction. If the purchase contract says, oh, now I need this much in closing costs, which is above my estimates, I'm in a pickle. And now I have to pivot and figure out how to go about this, and it's those tough conversations you're gonna have between me and the buyer, me and the realtor, me and the listing agent too. Like, I've been in those positions. Like, hey, we're short on cash. Listing agent, in order for this to close, here's a possible solution.
Right.
We all need to agree, otherwise this doesn't close. Yeah. And I love those realtors who agree to work together and find a solution to that. Because there's some who, I want to say the last situation I had like that, the realtors were nervous. Yeah. It's like they just don't know what to do. Yeah. And they're calling their broker and their broker doesn't pick up the phone. So it's like, dude, you can't ask me for that. Like, I don't, like, what do you mean? Why are you asking me to write your purchase contract?
Right. No, but you know what? It's so hard for people to understand that choosing the right professional makes a huge difference, because we've been in those scenarios as well. Then all of a sudden, we provide our fees, and then Warren is calling like, we're short, and we're like, what do you mean you're short? Because we don't know what right. As a title and escrow company, we don't know what their loan process is. All we know is, at the end of the day, we need to collect, $16,432.27 to close. Well, Warren is the one that figured that out, but it's your contract that set that up from the very beginning. So it's very important for people to understand that the professional you're working with does matter in the transaction. So, Lupi, as a real estate professional and understanding this factor that you're literally playing with people's lives, with people's livelihood, with their biggest purchase in their life, how serious do you take your job in this scenario? Very
serious, because like I mentioned, it's a big investment. And like you are mentioning, sometimes they're down to the wire where they only have this much, they have everything in line. You have got to ensure that you've got everything. T's are crossed and everything is dotted and everything is set and everything balances out. And that's what you need to have, and that you know what you're doing.
Right. And now now I'm going to throw it on you, Lupi. So you're going to be put in the hot seat, girl. when there is a mistake in the contract, because let's be honest, there are mistakes, right? Let's say that somebody checked that little box and say the transfer tax being paid by the buyer, but literally they meant by the seller, and then they come up to an agreement that they talked and everything. Now, how do we correct that? How do we correct that contract, that legal binding paper that says I'm paying for it, where Warren's supposed to be paying for it, and you have to come in and now draw up an addendum? How important is also to understand how to write those addendums to be very clear
You have to
of
be
what
very
that means.
very
Please.
specific, and you need to have that conversation with the other party.
Right.
With the other agent, and then they have to speak to their person, and you just have to be very, very upfront, very honest, and you know what you. If there was a mistake,
Yeah.
you got to be able to correct it. Everybody's human. There
Of
may
course.
be a mistake.
Yeah.
And yes, you may get those that are saying, nah, sorry, your mistake.
You
Pay
pay.
for it. Yeah. But most of the time, they work with you.
Right.
They do work with you. You make those addendums, and it could be one addendum, two addendum. You keep going until you're going to get to where you need to get to. And
Right.
you do get there.
Yes.
You do get there. And it appears that it becomes a little frustrating, but you do. Once you'll see sometimes there's contracts where it's like addendum 1, addendum 2. It's like, what are all of these addendums? Hey, they're all there because we're keeping it legal.
Yes, and that's literally the story of what the transaction has been. Because I've had escrow officers who are like, we're in our 7th addendum, and then that addendum needs to go to Warren because Warren needs to know, okay, who's paying for what, right, Warren?
Oh yeah, no, and yeah, I've been through 7, 11, 10, 12. Wow. Yeah. And man, it's such a. Sometimes those addendums are uncomfortable for the lender because it's the lender asking for those addendums. The lender is saying, "Hey, we need more time."
Oh, yeah.
Those are the most common addendums that I see. And thankfully on my side, knock on wood, I think that's only happened twice for me since 2018. Like, oh, hey, I need more time to make this happen. When I see those addendums for extensions, like I'm going through this right now for a transaction in Oregon. House was built in 1925. They renovated it, but when we did the inspection, or when we did the appraisal called out like 6 items.
Wow.
Well, it's taken that repair guy about 2 weeks to fix everything. We've had to extend twice now. Just because the repairs aren't done.
Right.
The appraiser has to go back out to the property to make sure it's actually done so that the house is safe and secure. We got the notice today that, hey, we should be done. Please send the appraiser out. This is 2 weeks from when we were supposed to close. So I'm on the addendum 3 right now.
Right.
They're like, hey, please extend till April 22nd as a worst case scenario. That way, they don't write, please addendum 5, and then please extend to April 20th. Addendum 6, please extend to April 21st.
Right.
So on and so forth. Just give me one addendum, give me 2 weeks.
Right.
And one and done, and we're good. Right.
But you know what, Warren? For and this is a conversation I have with my escrow officer almost daily. It's so important to know how to write this addendum, right? Because I have people that are like, we're asking to extend the escrow to close on April the 18th, right? And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, now is the 16th and we're ready to close. Well, we can't move forward because it says on paper that you're closing on the 18th. Yeah. So that wordplay, it's huge when it's coming down to actually get the closing done. Great example. Today, it happened here in our office, signing 8 o'clock in the morning. Buyers are here, they're signing the documents, they're wiring their money, they're expecting to get their keys today. Well, my notary, which sits there and she's going through everything, she gets to the deed of trust. The name is misspelled in the deed of trust. How important is to make sure that the names are spelled in all the documents correctly?
It's a legal document. It needs to be. It is a legal document that's going to be recorded. That needs to, and then come down the line later on when you want to sell or something, there's a problem.
Yep.
So you need to, it is a legal document.
Warren, please.
Oh, I have to share a funny story with this.
Okay.
So lenders always ask for the people's driver's license or any legal form of identification because that's what we're confirming is how your name is legally spelled or whatnot. Here's the curveball in this situation. This guy presented an ID and his signature was a drawing of a cat.
Oh my God.
So all of his docs had to be signed with a drawing of a cat.
Yes.
Because that's what was on his driver's license for the signature line. So
Wow.
Listen, I am so glad you brought that up because we here in the title company get that a lot, right?
signatures have to match?
Yes, signatures have to match how the driver license is. And let's be honest, a lot of us got our driver license when we were 17, 18 years old, and our signature was
changes.
and now all of a sudden it's just a little, and when I do my signings, because I am a notary as well, believe it or not, I help out my escrow officers to do the signings. I remind the buyers, I'm like, I need you to sign how you drive. They're like, oh my God, that was so long. I am so sorry, but it has to match. But you're right. People don't understand the severity of how important all of this stuff really is, right? If you change your signature, go to the DMV and update your signature in your driver license, because somebody will be asking you, say, if you draw a cat, you gotta sign as a cat.
Draw your cat.
That's funny.
Man, yeah, I've seen them, man. Part of me, that's why I love going to the signing table, just to see, one, I want to see, I started this in the very beginning when I first pulled your credit, right? I want to see at the very end, because sometimes I don't even see these clients, I don't even meet them.
Right.
My only chance I get to meet them is when they're signing at the table, and I know when they're going to be there, I know when they're signing. So that's my shot to go, hey, nice to meet you finally, and congratulations.
Right.
But at the same time, I'm there to make sure this transaction finishes smoothly.
Right.
Sometimes there's two IDs as a requirement. People don't bring two IDs.
No, they don't.
Thankfully it's gotten lenient, and we can accept a debit card now, right?
Yeah.
There's people that don't have debit cards.
No.
I'm like,
Yeah.
So thank you, FedEx Kinko's, for being, and Canva, and creating quick IDs really fast, because we've had to go there also. Make an ID. They like, okay, go to FedEx Kinko's and print that out.
And just to so people understand, these are requirements from the lender. Sometimes people get mad at us and like, oh my God, your escrow officer is requiring. Like, we're not requiring nothing. And I think it's really important for people to understand, realtors and loan officers, and also the consumer needs to understand, we in escrow, all we do is follow instructions. If in the purchase contract it says at the end of the closing, all right, and I know it's gonna sound dumb, but yes, at the end of the closing, the buyer must get up, hop around in one foot and say, yay, I got my house, and it's written, we gotta make sure that happens.
I'm gonna add that to my. I'm gonna add that to my escrow instruction
right
now.
But it's so important because these two types of form of IDs, like you said, people don't carry them. People are like, "Can I use my Sam's card?" I'm like, "It has your picture, but it doesn't have your signature." Right. I mean, there's so many other things that people need to really understand. So preparing for the closing is the next thing. I think that probably something we should talk about in the next episode. Like, how do you prepare to the closing so like that we have a successful closing? Because again, today in the morning, poor buyers, they were like, oh my God, are we going to be able to? Yeah, we're fine. It was early enough. It was 8:00 in the morning. We could get this fixed. But, imagine, Warren, you understand this because you're the lender, trying to get to your closing department at 8:00 in the morning on a Friday afternoon when everybody wants to close on a Friday afternoon because they want to receive keys in the afternoon so they can move tomorrow. Those phone calls.
Last week.
Right. And Lupi, you as a real estate agent, your job is to hand keys this afternoon. So like that, they're probably packed. They're ready to move, right? How important is for you to execute that final step in the transaction?
Very important, because it's just like Warren says, it's the finale of everything that we've gone through, and that's what you want to ensure, that you can get to that finale,
right? And
that they have everything. So
well, you know what? Believe it or not, the hour is gone.
It goes by fast.
It goes really fast.
Faster, I think.
It's like, wait a minute.
I feel a lot more comfortable.
Yes, of course. And you know what? Usually all my guests are like, we're going to talk about an hour. We're going to talk for an hour. What are we going to... I'm like, I'm telling you. I feel like, the old Mickey Mouse show is like, it's time to say goodbye. I'm like,
to all our company.
The hour has gone by because you know what? It's good conversations, educational conversations. You know, now we're talking about experiences, right? You talked about your experience. I talked about what happened to you in the morning. You're talking about, you know what? And I think this is very important for people to understand that, you know, it's all great because at the end of the day, all we see is the celebration. Yes, I got my keys, congratulations. And now everybody in social media, they're ribbon cutting and popping balloons and all of this stuff. But to get there, sometimes it's not that easy.
Right.
And I think it's very important for us to talk about those. And not that we want to scare people, but we just want to be realistic and say, hey, look, this is what really happens in the real estate transaction. So what do you guys think? We next episode, we talk about getting prepared for the closing?
I think that'd be great.
Perfect. So, Lupi, if you could please give me your phone number, information, how do they get a hold of you, your social media, and one last quick tip for our audience, please. I would really appreciate it.
Alrighty. Again, Lupi Salas with Sell It with Salas on Instagram, and 702-503-7822. And tidbit, get 2 forms of ID and not your Sam's Club card.
Very good. Warren?
Hey guys, this is Warren Cabasa with Loan Depot. You can find me on Instagram at the Cabasa, TheCabasa. Send me a DM anytime. And as a tip for me, I want to say, man,
There's so many.
Oh, here's the tip. Pay your bills with credit cards instead of debit cards. Your scores will go up. If you pay your bills with your debit card, your scores do not go up. But if you pay your bills with a credit card, then your scores go up. Little tip there. We'll talk about that in the future one day. Just keep, stay tuned.
Very cool.
And if I may,
yes.
I'm with Conrado and Company, the real estate group. I did not mention it.
Right. You're good. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my name is JC Castillo. You guys go ahead and get a hold of me outside of the air at 702-416-4302. Again, 702-416-4302. I'm the title guy. So if you have any questions at title and escrow, please make sure that you give me a call. Let us know. If you like the show, give us a thumbs up and follow. If you don't like it, let us know why, and we'll definitely adjust. But my quick tip is you got to be transparent with everything. You have to understand what's going on with the transaction, and if you don't, ask the questions. Somebody told me many years ago, and I know this is going to sound brutal, but it's reality. There's no dumb questions, just there's dummies that don't ask any questions. So please, don't be that person. Ask the questions. Don't feel bad. This is a new experience for you guys. We want to make sure we get you to the closing table. And I think our next episode is going to be getting prepared to the closing table. Warren gave us a good tip on how we get good credit. So we're going to continue to build this. Please follow us. We're going to be here every Friday afternoon to make sure that we bring you the right information. And also, please, like I always say, behave, take care of each other. Let's be nice because it's really good to do that. All right. We'll talk to you guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode.